Hey, welcome back to the DFL podcast. It's week 2 of the NFL. And you're here with Arch and Rowan. How you going, mate?
Yeah, I'm just making noises over here, so I'm excited.
Man, week 1 has come and gone. It's been everything we wished it was and everything we wish it wasn't, all in the space of 3 days of football.
Yes.
It was... Yeah, it's been good to be back. It's great to see the numbers next to the names and just having some banter around the workplace. It's been fun, online, all that kind of stuff. Watching Twitter go crazy with overreactions.
Yes.
It's been good. So, these people claiming that their takes have been made and that they're certain that this player is now a gun for the rest of their entire career based off of one game. It's always fun to watch that unfold, that's for sure. But Arch, how'd you find it? How was it for yourself?
Look, DFS-wise, we've had our better days, haven't we?
Let's not talk DFS for a little bit.
Yeah. But I tell you what, I got hit hard, but I got wins everywhere in my year-long season leagues. Like, it was crazy. One of my main home leagues losing with getting, having Rodgers, Rojo and Gesicki just pulling up nothing for me. It was an interesting sort of set of circumstances, but hey, we're here.
Yeah, we are.
Got some wins.
It's good. Now, well done. I didn't fare so well. I feel like I split 50-50 in like my redraft leagues. And you got a dynasty league that I'm rebuilding in, so that wasn't never going to get a win for me at all.
Yes.
So it's really much of a muchness in terms of that. So I'm looking forward to this week. Looking forward to a bit of redemption, and I got Elijah Mitchell in a few leagues, which was nice. So we'll see if that pans out or not. Potentially paid too much for him, but I've seen others pay more, so it made me feel not as bad. Some 100% fabs out there on Elijah Mitchell.
A few hundreds. In my home leagues, the biggest was 67. What's funny is we're in 2 leagues, home leagues. One's a work one, one's a friends league. And the guy in the work league, somehow they're both on Yahoo. One of those leagues, waivers got processed about an hour earlier. And so one of the guys who's in also both leagues, because there's 3 of us in both, he saw that old T-Bone did, I think it was 62 fab to get Elijah Mitchell and won. And so he then went back into Yahoo, adjusted his fab, and got him for 67. And man, was T-Bone filthy. It was.
The chat was going off with gifts left, right, and center.
To be honest, Yahoo, just process your bloody waivers properly. Like
it should all happen at the same time.
Yahoo. Has to be the last season on Yahoo for that league.
Because Sleeper's now come and gone. Like the one thing that was holding me to Yahoo was its history, but now I can put all the history into Sleeper. So it's Sleeper next year pretty much for everything that I will be doing. So anyway, we've gone this far and we haven't promoted our socials. You can find us Facebook, Twitter, and we are streaming on YouTube. So get onto YouTube, and if you're on YouTube, hey, welcome. Great to have you. You can find us at our Patreon at the TFL Podcast and our website, thetflpodcast.com as well. So find us there. We'd love a review, 5-star review, of course, on Apple Podcasts. Share us with your mates.
There's another type of review.
Yeah, that's right. So look, I understand. It's busy. This is the week 1, 2, 3. We're getting into the season, and you can't listen to everything. So, but make us a priority, please. You won't regret it.
No.
You won't regret it at all. We're your mates, and we're here to talk football together, and I love it. And so join us. Come along and join us. If you join our Patreon, we have a Discord that you can sign up for and join our community there as well. So jump on board the TFL podcast here with your mates, and we just want to enjoy this fantastic ride of NFL fantasy with you each and every week. So jump on board.
Beautiful, Ron.
Chris, let's jump into the news.
News and notes.
Look, week 1 came with injuries. That was fun. Let's talk Fitzpatrick. Ryan Fitzpatrick's gone down. Yeah, no, I wouldn't call it fun either. Ryan Fitzpatrick goes down with a hip subluxation, something like that. Anyway, he's out for I think about.
Did you just swear at me? Or
No. I won't say it again, though. He's gone. We got Taylor Heineke in for quarterback now at Washington. That's not too bad, to be honest. It's not like we're reverting back to the Alex Smith, dump it down. Terry McLaurin barely got targets last year kind of type thing. Taylor Heineke should still be decent.
He's got some.
But, of course, Fitzpatrick we know he can sling it. We know he likes to look down the field. So it kind of hurts the value of these wide receivers. I don't think I could now say that Terry McLaurin is in with a shot at being a wide receiver one. Now, that at least for the time being. What do you think about this situation?
It's just hard, isn't it? Like, give the guy a good quarterback, please, for a season. It's hopeless.
It's almost like Terry McLaurin's turning into Allen Robinson. Like that's how I'm seeing this.
Look, let's hope in his case that it's short-lived and that he gets onto it soon.
Fingers crossed. Michael Gallup has been put on short-term IR. He is out for a little while, which opens up a spot in the 3 wide receiver sets there in Dallas. Cedric Wilson was the beneficiary.
Yeah.
He was the guy that was on the field.
Yep.
A lot after Gallup went down. So looking at that, Cedric Wilson I know was a pretty popular waiver wire ad in some spots if you're really desperate at wide receiver or at least to see the role he has this week. But for me, I'm looking more at CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper just being more of the same, more guaranteed targets, more guaranteed routes. Like this is just another way of saying you've got 2 amazing wide receivers here that are just going to benefit from Dak throwing the ball a lot.
Oh, and wasn't it good? Just straight into it. I can't wait to see it. Come back to back. So many people questioning whether he could return or not. I hope they'll put it back in their place.
No, it was a good game to watch, man. What an opener! Let's just say that for a second. Just that Dallas Tampa Bay opener was ridiculous. It was so good. You couldn't have asked for anything more. And then the round ended with an overtime Baltimore Las Vegas game. Oh, man,
don't talk to me about overtime though.
Don't talk to me about overtime. Don't talk to me about overtime, man. Tell you what. When you're top of the $2 mini on Draft Stars at the end of regulation and the bloody kicker kicks a field goal so that they take it to overtime, you go from winning down to like 80th place by 1 yard, Archer. I needed Kenyon Drake to get 1 more yard in that last run and I would have taken home a decent amount of cash. Anyway, that's life.
Did you end up even cashing overall in the end in that contest?
Yeah, no. Anyway.
I didn't. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Oh, dear. Jerry Jeudy. He was placed on injured reserve with a high ankle sprain. They don't actually have a hard timetable for his return. This is an interesting one to me because you've got, obviously, Courtland Sutton, who wasn't around last year. He's still working his way back into the team, but he should be the one. You'd assume that for sure now with Jeudy out. However, look, Tim Patrick keeps popping up. Last year he was solid. Yep. He was a solid wide receiver 4 that you could really plug into your lineup when you needed him. So he was good. He was great on the weekend as well. He provided you with a touchdown. KJ Hamler missed a massive touchdown play that he could have had. So these are the 2 guys that were sitting in that 3-4 spot now in terms of wide receivers that should be pushing into the 2-3 spot.
Yes.
So I like KJ Hamler and Tim Patrick here this week as well. But Noah Fant, of course, is a beneficiary of this as well. Do you have a favourite out of those 2, Hamler or Patrick, Arch?
Look, obviously Tim Patrick's going to be the more popular one, and if you look closely, he's got the snaps, 70% of snaps in week 1 as opposed to KJ Hamler with 36. So I guess you could see already that Tim Patrick's going to be ahead of him in the depth chart. But, it doesn't take much for KJ Hamler to get a couple long snags for a touchdown here or there. But I think this is Noah Fant's time. This is his opportunity to really have a bit of a breakout here. Like, I think that couldn't be a better time. He's got, Teddy two gloves, not going to pass, too much downfield. No offense there. Your Jerry Jeudy was the route technician who would be across the middle, be able to get them. Now it's Fant. That's what has to be Fant now.
Yeah. No, fair call. I like that call. Now, probably the biggest news or biggest injury on the weekend was Raheem Mostert, which I had stacks of Raheem Mostert in DFS, redraft. I had him everywhere this year. So he's just gone and done
I'm lucky. I just kept missing him by fluke in all of my season-long drafts.
How dare you?
I was like, all right, I'm gonna get Mostert here. Someone got him. Like it was probably you actually.
Yeah, it was. Got a few of them anyway, especially was. Yeah. So devastating for Mostert. He's out for the season. He's going to get surgery. He's not going to come back. Trey Sermon was a healthy scratch.
I know.
Again, Shanahan just pulling the rug from underneath every fantasy coach. No, that's right. It was ridiculous. So Sermon's a healthy scratch. Elijah Mitchell comes in, handles the load, 104 yards, touchdown. I snagged him in a couple of leagues. Very happy with that off the waivers. In redraft, he's like Jermichael Hasty is there. He had I think one carry. Like he made it count, but he wasn't involved heavily at all. It was the Mitchell show. So what do you think here, Arch? Like, is Shanahan going to pull the rug out from underneath us again, and Sermon's going to come back, and he'll be the one, and we all just got fooled with Mitchell, and we've all spent way too much fab, and like it's scary to think that potentially, like, I don't know, I can't trust this offense.
No,
especially with what happened to
I can
Brandon
trust
Ayuk.
them to run the ball well. I just can't trust them who's going to run the bloody ball. But look, I mean, Elijah Mitchell was selected ahead of him. You can't argue with that. But they traded up for Sermon. Maybe it's a way of just sending him a message that he needs to pull his finger out and work harder in training. Maybe, you never know what's going on behind closed doors. No one saw it coming, so potentially he wasn't that far behind the other guys in training camp. Maybe he wasn't at all. Maybe it's, just playing games. I guess we'll wait and see. He won't be inactive this week, surely.
No, you think he'd be
Although they did sign Kerryon Johnson to the practice squad.
Oh, he just keeps living enough to
I looked at him. I dropped him, Rowan, after our little chat. Like, I gave up on him finally.
As you should have.
I'm like, ooh, maybe. No.
Don't do it. Don't you dare.
I want him to be good.
Oh, dear. Anyway, I think so. That brings us kind of to the main injuries that are going to have an impact for us this week. Well, Chris, week 1 gave us everything that we could ask for, and then some. We had so much fun that we're running it back for week 2 with our friends at DraftKings. This week, all users will have their shot at $1 million top prize. DraftKings will have tons of contests with absolutely massive prizes, so there's no better time now to get in on the action. So here's how it works. 1, sign up for your DraftKings account. 2, make a first-time deposit and enter your favorite contests. 3, choose your players while staying within the $50,000 cap. 4, follow the action and take your shot at glory and massive prizes. So what are you waiting for, TFL community? It's time to take on the competition and take your shot at $1 million US, of mind you. So just go to dkng.co/TFL to sign up and get started. That's dkng.co/TFL. These are global contests. Entry fees and prizes are in US dollars, not available to residents of SA. T's and C's apply. 18 plus, gamble responsibly. Think about your choices. Call Gambling Help 1-800-858-858. Gamblinghelponline.org.au. Eligibility restrictions apply. See au.draftkings.com for details. So join us there on DraftKings. Get a little entry into the millie and
come home with $1 million. I
that'd
guess
be nice, wouldn't it?
If you won it after listening to us, we get a cut, right?
Hey, I mean, at least
send us
$10
send us a
or
little,
something.
I mean, look, on a system, guys, you win it, you give us a little something. Just anything. I'll take anything. Look, but speaking of trying to get
is that illegal? Hopefully that's not like
probably not.
Contract.
It was a joke. Does that cover me in court? Probably not.
I mean, we're laughing, right?
Yeah. Anyway, let me keep talking about me wanting more money. So we love each and every one of you guys who take the time to listen. One way that you can help us is join our Patreon with our base supporter tier starting at $2 Australian a month. You can support our Aussie-based fantasy and DFS pod. Look, benefits of joining our Patreon include gaining access to our minds. In a way, we'll help you with your cash game lineup by joining our Discord community, where we can talk, screenshots going back and forwards, what we're going to do this week. Get on that. Probably might send you a little stubby holder at certain tiers as well. We've got that. But look, at the end of the day, it's just a way that you could help support us. If you like having Aussie content creators out there in this NFL crazy space, we'd really appreciate that support. So patreon.com/the TFL podcast for less than the cost of a cup of coffee. Do it.
That's it. Which brings us to our week 2 preview. Let's go.
Oh! Bah, bah! Yeah! What do you reckon, Ron?
Get excited. Pretty excited. There's a new week ahead.
Yes.
And I love that. Fresh slate. Let's start again.
Yes,
At least that's what I'm telling myself.
I need a new slate, that's for sure. Oh, boy. Oh, man, what a bad week 1.
Anyway, look, what we're gonna do. We gave something new a try last week. We're gonna jump back to what we were doing last year, where we're going through each of the games and we'll talk through the players. It's a bit more comfortable with that. We'll talk DFS. We'll talk redraft through it. Who we think a good sit starts, and also great cash and tournament plays throughout the week as well. We're going to we'll give you the over-under and the implied team total as well for each game, and that's really helpful for us. We've been finding that, obviously, if you're looking to play people, like play the players on your team, you want the guys who are going to score points, or the opportunity to score points. And Vegas isn't often that wrong. When I say Vegas, I mean the bookies. They're not often that wrong in terms of what they are expecting for these games.
Exactly.
So
there's a reason why they have a lot of money.
That's right. So we're going to keep an eye on them because that might help guide our decision-making process throughout the season as well. So we're going to jump in. Thursday Night Football. Here we go. It's Washington versus the Giants, divisional game. So it's important for both of these teams to think about how they're going to go this year in their division.
Hardly inspiring, is it, to kick off
week
2 as a matchup?
It's an over-under of they're talking 41 points.
41. Ugh.
That's gross. They're thinking.
Are they even going to get there?
Well, yeah. Look, both defenses are decent, and that's the reality here. When I'm looking at this, and if you're going to play Showdown on DFS, the defenses are both in play big time. You've got Daniel Jones, who's very prone to turning it over, whether it's a fumble on a rush or it's an interception in the air. So I think you could easily play the Washington defense. That's probably one of my favorite plays on this lineup. And if you've got the Washington defense out there on waivers and redraft, then go get them, because I think they're going to be a great play this week. The Giants defense was solid against the Broncos as well last week also. So, and they've got Taylor Heineke sitting in there, who is a young, inexperienced quarterback.
He's a backup.
So looking at both of these teams, you're looking at those defenses going, they're both good plays this week. There's a reason there's only 41 points as a over-under. Is there any play that you honestly like here, Arch, that if you're going to play Showdown, definitely play, or you definitely want to push them into your lineup if you can in redraft?
Look, I think Antonio Gibson's probably just going to be fairly good. I think he's going to have a lot of work on the ground, and we should see him in the passing game a little bit as well, with Heineke trying to get the ball off. But then J.D. McKissick's still around, taking some targets.
Did nothing though, really, with the ball.
No, so you got to think that it's going to be a Gibson. I want to just keep a real close eye on what's the go with Saquon Barkley after last week. Very low usage. Is it still going to be a limited workload going in to week 2 or not? But really, nothing inspires me on this. We talk season long. You look long and hard at all of the receivers and think, do I have a better option on the bench? even Terry McLaurin, I probably want to see a week before I could trust him in this offense with Taylor Heineke. He's probably still going to be played because, he's generally has been fairly quarterback proof in the past. But really, Logan Thomas could do something, but yeah, it's just not looking pretty, really.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Logan Thomas is probably a bit of a favourite play in terms of he's going to be a bit more of a safety net along with Antonio Gibson. Like, if I'm looking at playing this game, I'm looking at who's going to get higher receptions. Yeah. And I don't think that's McLaurin. I don't think that's Diami Brown. I don't know on the other side how the Giants are going to be spreading the ball. Like, that's a really interesting one as well. Like, are we going to be seeing Golladay step up? Are we going to see Shepard be the clear one like he was last week? Slayton could pull out a big play. So if you're going to take, like, if you want someone to kind of break open a slate, I think Darius Slayton is a decent pick for that in mind. But if you're just playing regular redraft, I'm kind of avoiding everyone. If you've got Saquon Barkley, which you probably drafted quite high, I'm really sorry to say, I think that you kind of need if you have someone better, like I would play Damian Harris over Saquon Barkley this week.
Yeah. I mean, Saquon, he only had 3 targets last week as well.
It was gross.
Yeah. Not what you want to see from
for sure.
your first round pick.
So, yeah, it's a low over-under. It's potentially going to go less. Like, that's a very real reality. Yeah. So, it's going to be really weird showdown slate, I think. Like, imagine I wouldn't be surprised if a defense in the captain slot won. Let's be honest.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'd definitely have a few lineups without any quarterbacks, potentially.
Oh, yeah, definitely. All right, let's move on to the main.
Move on.
Sunday games. We've got the 1 o'clock games here. We've got Jacksonville versus Denver. Jacksonville are a mess. 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions for Trevor Lawrence last week. We saw DJ Chark emerge as the one after a lot of Marvin Jones talk throughout the offseason, which was interesting. Jerry Jeudy is down. Cortland Sutton is going to be there. No offense, going to benefit with, like as we were saying before. Looking at that, it's a weird game. James Robinson, do you play him? If you've got him on your redraft team, I don't know what to do with him. Carlos Hyde was there.
No, look, it's that's right. He's just not getting used as much as we'd like. I think his snap percentage was in the 60s, which, last year he was pretty much on the ground for every play.
Oh yeah,
it's just not getting used the same way. So I think I'm fading James Robinson for sure.
Yeah, if I'm looking at this game, if I'm thinking cash, I don't like any player in this game except potentially Noah Fant. Noah Fant sitting there at 4,200 on DK, which is, I think, reasonably priced. He's got an opportunity there to kind of be a top 3 tight end on the slate. On the slate, mind you, there's no Travis Kelce, there's no TJ Hawkinson, there's no George Kittle. Darren Waller is the number 1 tight end on the slate.
To me, it's just a little bit too expensive on Draft Stars at 10,000.
I'd avoid on Draft Stars. I think
to me that just feels that sort of dead zone of you're not getting an elite guy, but you're almost paying for it.
Yeah, that's right. So, other than that, I don't really like it. I feel like, this is a game I'd probably be avoiding.
Shaughnessy punt play for your cash.
Yeah, he's a guy that was run around, I think, on 80% of the snaps.
Yep.
If I remember correctly. Either he ran, I think, the 3rd most routes for a tight end last week, O'Shaughnessy.
40 routes.
Like, that's huge. Like, that's just ridiculous.
And got targeted on 20% of those routes.
Yeah. Which is solid for a tight end. That's great.
For a no-name tight end.
Yeah, exactly. So every year we see...
What is Urban Meyer doing?
That's it. What mind games are we caught up in? That's the reality. And I think, like we're saying, this is week 1 that we're seeing. We don't know what the coaches are trying. I don't know what Urban Meyer's doing ever, but is this going to be something that we consistently see, or are they going to take turns and Manhurts is going to come out and be the number 1 tight end? But either way, it looks like that he wants to get a tight end running.
Yes.
So O'Shaughnessy is probably the punt tight end play for me this week.
Definitely. Obviously, there's that chance of touchdowns for them, and at 2,700 DK, 5,400 on Draft Stars, it's touchdown and you're golden.
Oh, 100%. Just in terms of season long. What did you make of the Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon backfield? Melvin Gordon obviously got that 70-yard touchdown, but aside from that, it's pretty even.
Yeah, I think that's what people were expecting, probably thinking that it's going to be mainly Melvin Gordon to start with, and then he slowly loses the role. Look, there was some positive talk in the preseason that potentially it was more Javonte Williams than Melvin Gordon, but then we saw in the last preseason, like, Melvin Gordon was looking good in preseason, and so it was going to get work. And so if he's still capable of those big, dynamic runs, I think you can still play both, really.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on to the next game, which is Miami versus Buffalo. This has got a 48-point over-under. They are picking Buffalo to win by about 3.5 points. This is an interesting one. Josh Allen actually had really good games against Miami last year. I'm looking at this going, they want to bounce back. Yep. Pittsburgh, losing to them wasn't a good look for that first week at all.
No.
I still like Josh Allen to be a top 3 quarterback for the year. I think you can build stacks out of this game.
Yep.
Especially with a pretty potent wide receiver room in Miami now. We saw Jalen Waddle do pretty well, and he's only priced down at 4,500 on DK, 9,700 in draft stars. Like, I think Jalen Waddle should be decent. Will Fuller comes in, though, obviously, and he's only priced at 4,800 on DK. A bit pricier at 10,400 on draft stars.
Yeah.
But either way, I think that's more as probably a bring back. Buffalo's where you probably want to go. Cole Beasley showed that, again, he's a PPR machine.
55 routes run, the exact same amount as Stephon Diggs. Like, the guy's on the field. 91% of snaps.
If you're playing PPR, like, Cole Beasley is a guy that you should be playing each and every week.
I tell you what, though, a little, if you're looking at, who's on the field a lot, who led the snaps in wide receivers was actually
Manny Sanders.
That's outrageous. He obviously didn't get the same workload, like in terms of targets, but if someone's on the field that much, running routes, I think we've got to just keep an eye on that. Potentially him and Beasley, what might be, you could probably alternate that double stack, have some with Beasley, have some with Sanders. Sanders probably one with bit more leverage play on the field.
Yeah, definitely. You'd think that he wouldn't be highly played this week, but like you're saying, if he's on the field, he's got the opportunity, and he's a guy that can break a big play. So they can make up for those lack of receptions, perhaps, compared to a Cole Beasley.
52 routes run as well. It just only got to the 7 targets, but I think the ball will come, and Buffalo just had a bad game, so I think they improve as an offense and stick together a bit more. I think he could be a solid play this week in quite a few GPP lineups.
What do you think of Gabriel Davis? He's obviously last on that list in terms of how often he's on the field, but they seem to like him in the red zone. He's pretty decent there. I feel like the end of last year, he seems to kind of pull his weight. Josh Allen doesn't mind giving him a shot.
Yep. Yeah. Well, he's still getting targets, but it's obviously it's a lot more risky. And again, throw him in a few GPP lineups because he's going to be pretty under-owned, and he's not going to cost much to. He doesn't need much for you to. Just needs 6, 7, 8 points maybe, and then you're okay with that for cash. Maybe you could, but you probably want. You need a touchdown out of him if you get him in a GPP lineup, but
for sure,
Yeah, so look, obviously Emmanuel Sanders hurts him coming in, but I think he's young and ascending.
Yeah. Next year, I really like Gabriel Davis. Miami, do you like? I can't bring myself to stack any Miami players. I think Tua's still a QB2. He'll be okay throughout the year. Will Fuller will add a different dimension to this team for sure. So maybe this is more of a wait and see week.
Look, to me, it's just I can't trust them. There's too many names, and I don't know which one is going to emerge or which ones are going to emerge as stable, reliable plays. Like, who is Devontae Parker this year? I don't know. What's Will Fuller going to bring in a new team? Because he brought a lot of inconsistency in his past. He had a good year last year before the suspension. Is that what he's going to bring this year? Preston Williams, Albert Wilson, I mean, they're probably your dart throws. You could probably throw in a couple, your MME GPPs where you've got 100. Sure. But, they're the sort of plays that could actually win you something. But, look, Jalen Waddle, 80% of his snaps, he's getting used on the field. He's the one that I'm looking at. Can he back up what he was able to do in week 1? And then we might be able to see some consistent usage out of him.
Yeah, that's it. I think Waddle and potentially Fuller are the guys you're looking at to potentially be the every week flex play in a redraft situation as well. So you're liking the look of those. Anyway, let's move on. Cleveland at Houston. This is a 48-point implied total, but guess what? Cleveland are 12.5-point favorites. Almost 2 touchdowns. This is going to be a just absolute bloodbath. I think with Cleveland are going to just destroy them.
Yeah, lock in Nick Chubb in all my cash game lineups. I think that's this game just has him just steamrolling, getting 2 touchdowns. 238 yards. I don't know. But,
very possible.
This game, it's just going to go bananas, isn't it? So, what do we see about? Is OBJ going to play? Have you heard anything about him?
Last my gut says he does because of how he kind of warmed up for the last game, but then it was a late decision to not play him. So I'm looking at OBJ.
Put him on ice because it's Houston.
That's it. If there's any doubts, get rid of him. Don't play him. So
I tell you who not to play.
Houston running backs.
Yeah, bloody hell. Mark Ingram's the guy with 26 carries out of that game. What's going on there?
I will be avoiding everything Houston.
I tell you what, though, they didn't look as. I mean, it was probably more Jacksonville, but they didn't look as bad as what you thought. But they brought in veteran after veteran. Maybe they actually are going to be better than we think.
Well, that's the thing. The locker room must actually be decent enough.
A lot of pride, surely.
Because they got all these guys at the end of their careers.
Yeah.
Going, we want to make something of ourselves. Let's do it.
Tyrod Taylor has been good in the past, and he just keeps getting, high draft picks drafted into his teams.
Yeah, that's right. He's going to do more on the ground, though, right through the air. So I don't know if I could stack him with a Brandon Cooks, especially not this week. But he's an interesting one. He's a guy that I think on a bye week in redraft, you can bring in Tyrod Taylor potentially and get some decent work out of him for sure. But running backs I'm avoiding. In terms of wide receivers at Houston, Brandon Cooks is it. I don't like to give anyone else a go on this team. But if you're going to play DFS this week, then I think you onslaught the Cleveland offense. You can put a Chubb, Mayfield, Landry line up in and go from there. I think that's very possible. I think Kareem Hunt will be a bit of a leverage play. I think he's going to receive more as well. So if you're playing the stack, then I really like a Mayfield, Landry, Hunt lineup. I think that's really good, especially if Chubb punches through to 3/4 time.
Coming back with Cooks?
You could bring back Cooks.
You don't think
he could, but I just don't know if he's got the ceiling.
No, he doesn't. But I tell you what, Brandon Cooks just quietly going about another year getting 1,000 yards receiving.
He'll do it.
It's clockwork with that guy. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Move on.
No. All right, next game. We've got Chicago at Cincinnati. Cincinnati at Chicago, I should say. There's a 44.5-point implied total here, so they're not picking it to be an absolute barn burner. I can't see it being anything of the sort as well. Chicago came up against the Rams, where the Rams have a great D and a great offensive line. So
play Fields.
Oh, this would be so good if Dalton just got benched halfway through and out comes Fields against Burrow. That would be awesome.
Training reports, please come out saying he's lost the job. He's not. It's going to be the year. You could almost see it's going to be the year. It's just played well enough. I'll tell you what, though, Rowan. You're going to see me throw out a few Cincinnati stacks this week.
Okay. All right.
For the pure value and then being able to build up around this stack that if they hit and I've got some like big price, pieces around them, I feel like that could be a really good solid lineup. So, you look at what's his face, Jamar Chase. He's only 5,000 on DK.
And 8,000 on DraftStars. No, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one.
10,000.
10,000 on DraftStars.
Like,
it's not bad.
That's pretty good. T. Higgins only 5,400 as well.
Yeah.
Like, these are valued players where both of those guys have a high ceiling, and Burrow they've given him license to throw. Like, they throw it so much. Even Burrow, he's only 5,800 on DK. There is opportunity here to get a nice little Cincinnati double stack. Bring it home with maybe an A-Rob on the other side. Maybe even throw in a little sprinkle a little Joe Mixon on top of as well if you're really feeling frisky. But I can see that it's good value stack here
for sure. If I'm talking cash, one of my favorite cash plays this week is David Montgomery.
Yeah,
against the Rams, he looked good.
Yep.
Like, he looked really solid, and he got given the rock a lot in a negative game script. He was given the rock. It got negative. He probably had less in the second half, I admit. But up until that point, against the Rams, against Aaron Donald, against this defensive line,
he's
like,
a bad
he was
man, that Donald.
Oh, he's
a bad man.
But David Montgomery pulled out a really decent score. So I really like David Montgomery to come up against a way less defense in Cincinnati. He's got the opportunity here to just carry the rock all day long. And if this is a tight game, which is what they're saying, it's only 3 points between the two of them. If this is going to stay tight in that neutral game script, I think David Montgomery is a guy that you're going to see get a lot of volume. So at 6,100 as well on DraftKings, I really like David Montgomery this week. So I think he's a safe play. I honestly do.
Cole Kmet as well. He had a healthy amount of snaps for the team, so I think keep an eye on his usage. I tell you what, going back to Justin Fields, like, obviously he's not starting at the moment. But
he's going to get on the field, though.
He's going to get on the field. He's only, like, if we go over to Draft Stars, he's only 8K, all right? Now, it's 100,000 salary cap, so, it's like having a 4K quarterback on DraftKings. Now, Ron, what if he comes out and he's the starter? What if even if Dalton throws 2 interceptions in the first quarter and he comes out and plays 3 quarters? Crazier things. Wouldn't mind, only 8K.
I would only be playing that if I was max entering in like the 50-cent competition.
All I'm saying is let's highlight that salary and keep an eye on the off chance he's named the starter.
All right, I'm keeping an eye. He's going to be so popular, though, if he's named the starter. So
but sometimes we eat the chalk, and especially for cash, you're just going to do it.
Yeah, for sure. Darnell Mooney here is still priced at 4,200 on DraftKings, which does my head in because he's the clear number 2 on this offense, and they're going to be able to throw the ball a heck of a lot more. There's no Jalen Ramsey on Cincinnati. Darnell Mooney is a guy here that could, finally show off his long yard plays and score a touchdown. At 4,200, I think Darnell Mooney's pretty good if you're going to, really not punt, but go for a cheap wide receiver.
No, that's it. The team have a lot of faith in him. He was on the field for all offensive snaps.
Yeah, that's right, 100%.
He's out there, so it's going to click eventually.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot.
All right, next game.
San Francisco play my Eagles.
Yes,
and San Francisco are only 4-point favorites with a 49.5 point implied total. Looking at this is an interesting game.
This could hit the overs, I reckon.
Yeah. How good? I was very happy with my Eagles. How good were Hurts and Smith and Rager?
Yeah,
they look really solid. Was getting around it as well. I think there's some question marks around Ertz's health as well.
Yep.
So if you're looking at that, Goddard is there. Like, he's sitting... He's sitting at 4,600 on DK, so not too bad.
Yeah.
He's 7,100 on
Draft Stars.
On Draft Stars.
That potentially is close. O'Shaughnessy's was our sort of cash game tight end. Plays that we just said earlier. This could be a runner up, or maybe even leapfrog with the ceiling that he could have.
For sure. 100%. San Francisco let the Lions just crawl back into that game in that second. I don't know what happened. Goff just turned it on, and Jamal Williams and Swift and Hawkinson just went, all right, boys, we're going to buckle up here, and we're going to put some points on the board. And I don't know how that happened, but I don't know how San Francisco let that happen. That's the biggest thing for me. So if the Eagles can get some ascendancy here in this game, then, I think you're right, Arch. The over could easily be hit. Yep. So Jalen Hurts there at 6,500. Only 12,540 on Draft Stars. Like,
Kittle as well is
decent
then
value.
cheap. There's a lot. I feel like it's fairly underpriced for potentially a really boom game here. So
that's true. Oh, my bad. I said Kittle was off the slate earlier. I was wrong about that. 6,400. 6,400. That's okay. That's Waller's the number one tight end in salary this week. We'll get to him in a little bit, but Kittle's that discount that probably didn't hit the lofty heights that we might have wanted last week. So hence, but it could have huge price rise. But Deebo Samuel or George Kittle, it could have been either of them, to be honest.
Absolutely. So look, I think he's a solid play, especially in cash. You know that he's a centerpiece of that offense.
Yeah, definitely.
What about Ayuk? Let's talk about Ayuk. What's going on there?
I honestly think he's just sore, and I think he was a decoy. I can't believe that after last year that Trent Sherfield has supplanted him or any kind of thing like that. Like, that does my head in to think that that's a possibility. So Ayuk, I'm holding strong with Ayuk. I don't know if I won't play him in DFS. I'm going to definitely not go there because, heck, what if it's true? But in a redraft space, you have to hold Ayuk. You drafted him with decent draft capital, and you want to see how it plays out. We saw what he did last year. He was a fantastic player, great points per game, really held the San Francisco offense together in some games. So I'm very hesitant to say anything about Ayuk in terms of leaning towards dropping him or anything like that in redraft. But he's too risky to play.
No, look, maybe potentially you might throw him in a couple draft stars line. He's a little bit cheaper there. But when you're looking at DK with Devontae Smith, $100 cheaper than Ayuk, who are you going to go? You're going to go Devontae Smith as of what we saw. So, so it's going to be an interesting game. Pick your San Francisco running back who you feel is going to be a play here, but you're not going to get them as cheap. They're not those.
No,
squares.
Elijah Mitchell's there. Yeah, he's at 5,000. He's going to be highly owned. Across the DFS world this weekend. He's going to be everywhere. I think he'll be a favorite play for many, many players. So if you want leverage, don't play Elijah Mitchell. Yeah. If you want real leverage, then maybe you play Jermichael Hasty, but that scares the heck out of me. So
I'll pass.
So look, Jalen Reagor at 4,100. It's pretty good. Yeah. Similar mentality to Darnell Mooney for mine when I'm looking at that. But potentially Jalen Reagor is closer to the one than Darnell Mooney is the closest to the one in terms of their position for each team. So, that's just an interesting thought there. Kenneth Gainwell as well. What the heck happened there?
Yeah, what's going on?
I was surprised. I have him a couple of dynasty shares, so I was happy.
See you later, Boston Scott, right?
It seemed that way, big time. And I mean, Kenny Gainwell had a really good last year in college, great yardage numbers and touchdown totals. So to come on, he should have had 2 touchdowns. He got one called back. So Kenny Gainwell there at 4,000. Look, just keep an eye on. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, probably don't really want to play him, but anyway. And I'm not going to play Trent Sherfield, just to clarify that. Next game, we got Carolina versus New Orleans Saints. We've got a 44.5 point implied total. Probably thinking that both defenses are going to hold both of these offenses, I don't know, just a little bit tighter than last week anyway. Green Bay just could not hold New Orleans down at all. No. And Jameis Winston was the most efficient quarterback of all time. Just
classic surgery.
Throwing a touchdown for every 29 yards that he threw, which does your head in. That doesn't make any sense. So, look, you're playing, McCaffrey and Kamara are cash game staples here. If you want to be sure about volume, then you're looking this way. McCaffrey's priced under 10 grand still.
McCaffrey didn't score a touchdown last week and was a running back one. That's
oh my gosh,
just dumb. Like you're getting, you could double his price and he's still worth it. Like it's ridiculous.
100%. Do you like this game to stack at all? I feel nervous about it, to be honest. I feel like both defenses might stop really solid ceiling plays in this game.
And you look at the over-under at 44.5. You're sort of you're looking for those games, above 50, maybe above 48. Over-under. New Orleans has the high implied team total of 24. Potentially, you might throw, but who's the receiver you're going to trust to get that? Alvin
Kamara.
The targets were really spread out. Like, Juwan Johnson got a couple touchdowns. Troutman was the most targeted player, but he didn't do as much with those targets. So it's just sort of, we just need to sort of see how it all shakes out. I think Troutman potentially is another, he's bargain basement tight end that, if he's getting used and he's healthy, which he appears to be, he played in about 80% of snaps last week as well. That, he just needs a touchdown, and that 3,000 on DK pays for itself.
Speaking of like cheapies, Terrace Marshall had 6 targets, pretty solid target share for Carolina, and he's still sitting there at 3,300. He didn't do as much with it, but they clearly wanted to get the ball in his hands, which I liked.
Yeah,
he's a guy that maybe this isn't the week to play him against the Saints, but if you're looking to punt a wide receiver 3 position on your Draft Stars lineup or DraftKings lineup, then Terrace Marshall's not that bad of a play, I think.
No, he didn't run that as many routes, but when he was out in the field, he was targeted. So if he's out there, they're planning around that. Only 53% snap. So the targets for the amount of time he's on the field is, that's quite a nice little ratio. So if that goes up, we're looking at quite a valuable asset.
Yeah, which is often what you see with the rookies. Like they'll start off less in terms of time on ground,
and when you got DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson in front of you, it makes sense, doesn't it?
For sure. Although Robbie Anderson, 3 targets, that's it. 1 for 57 and a touchdown. It paid off luckily, but it could have easily not.
No, I'll be looking to avoid.
Yeah, big time. Next up, we got Indianapolis versus the Rams. LA Rams, we got 47.5 points. 4-point favorites are the Rams. That's I don't know. I feel like I think the Rams are going to stomp them, to be honest.
Yes.
I think this is a Rams game through and through. I think they'll win by a touchdown at least. So, but that being said, I don't think the pace of play is going to be super high.
No.
Neither team excites me. You could go down, or I don't know. Zach Pascal's on this. He's basement price on Draft Stars, so he intrigues me because I think he's the clear 2. He's the clear 2 in their offense. Aside from, Nyheim Hines, he was targeted a heck of a lot.
Yep. But
again, he's pretty cheap as well. We're talking PPR here, so Nyheim Hines is, a solid play. I think if you've got him as a running back, if you went 0 RB, then Nyheim Hines is the guy that you want on your roster in season-long formats. But otherwise, look, you're going to play the Rams receivers in Woods and Cup this week, but I don't know if I could stack them when it comes to DFS. So, yeah, there's something about it. There's something about this game that just puts me off a little bit. I can't always put my finger on it, but I feel like it's going to potentially hit the under of 47.5. I think it's going to.
Yep. What's interesting is Henderson really was given the keys, wasn't he? Like he was. Had 80% of the snaps. He's the clear RB1. There's no 1A, 1B type situation anywhere. So, my Jake Funk truther mentality has gone. But potentially Sony Michel, as he learns the playbook, might get a little bit more involved. But, Henderson looked okay out there. It's not too bad probably won't play much of him in DFS though. Still, I think there's still better options and ones we can have more faith in. But look, Woods and Cup still are, I think, on DK underpriced, and if you pair them with Stafford, I think we can. It's worth having a couple stacks. I wouldn't be too heavy on him, but I think there's still some value there.
Sure. One other guy talking about Rams pass catchers, Tyler Higbee, is priced at 4,100. Like, that's cheap for a guy that really put together a solid showing against the Bears. Now, I know that the Bears were pretty easy to score against for tight ends last year, coming up against Indianapolis, so a little bit the opposite. But Tyler Higbee, I don't know. I think he's showing that he's the guy. Stafford can easily provide decent tight end numbers in that team. So Tyler Higbee for a cheaper option. I know he's still like above 4K. I understand that, but I don't know. I feel like in terms of what he can provide, I quite like him.
To me, though, like, he's out on the field for all, like, he was there 100% snap, so only 25 routes run. You obviously compare that to James O'Shaughnessy had 40 routes run. 6 targets, but he just still didn't do much with the targets. So whilst he's there and he's sort of in Stafford's face, I think Stafford is just going to be airing it a lot deeper to the Cup and Woods for the touchdowns, and that Higbee's maybe it's the yards per attempt that perhaps worries me.
No, that's fair. I hear that. Next up, unless there's anything else you want to say about the Colts.
Move on.
No. Pittsburgh take on Las Vegas Raiders, and how about these Raiders prices? Yes. This is the best thing about the prices coming out on DraftKings before Monday night football, because you've got Darren Waller, their price is 7,600 after 19 targets.
Was it only 19?
Oh,
I felt like that was just one quarter. Like, it was ridiculous.
He was everywhere. He's clearly
the team started doing better
offense
when they started looking around at other options, though. So, but potentially, Carl will be told, you've got other guys there that have hands you could use.
Oh, but he knew that. Zay Jones caught that winning touchdown, dang it, because I really wanted Waller to catch that touchdown. It would have won me a few redraft league matches.
Brian Edwards, little fourth quarter specialist, thank you very much.
Yeah, I can't trust Ruggs or Edwards still.
No. Like, Renfro still gets a bit of usage as well.
Look, Renfro is like Cole Beasley light in a way.
Yeah.
Like PPR darlings, really. I think Renfro and Beasley are going to be those short A-dot receivers.
I think with the Brian Edwards, though, Brian Edwards only needs a touchdown and some yards to make up his 3,700 price tag on DK.
Sure.
So I don't mind him. But I tell you what, the Pittsburgh, Deontay Johnson's that favoured target, it seems. He's getting a lot of it. Interested in any Big Ben stacks with his receivers?
Not really, to be honest. I still look at Big Ben, and he scares me because I think as well, like he just didn't look that great. You've got Naji Harris there now as well, and the Raiders, they let up a decent amount to the running backs, and Naji Harris, Naji Harris is not Latavius Murray, and he's not Tyson Williams. Like, let's make that clear. He is a better running back than both of those guys combined, and what we saw from the Ravens on Monday Night Football. So Naji Harris here is a guy that's going to get the rock a lot, and I think they're going to try, because they couldn't really quite do it against Buffalo's defensive 7 last week. I think they're going to really push Naji Harris down the ground. So
Now, I had a lot of Naji Harris in a lot of my DFS lineups, and it hurt me. I feel it hurt a lot of people. He was like a solid play. I think he's still a solid player, and I'm going to play him again this week. I think it's a new season, new day. He as a running back had 100% snaps. Like,
you can't fault that.
There's no sprinkling of any other running back. He's the guy. He's going to get the ball. I think we have to trust that the volume's there. You have to play him. So to me, only 60 6,300 for that sort of usage. He's in a lot of my cash game lineups. In fact, maybe all of them, because I don't have that many cash game lineups. But he'll probably fill quite a few GPPs as part of a core, around other stacks, really. So, brush off your feelings from week one. It's a new day. Let's get into a bit of Naji Harris.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, next one.
Yeah, you got the Jets taking on the Patriots. It's 42.5 over under. We're looking at really low points scored here.
Yes.
Corey Davis really did show out though last week, and he's the clear number one in this offense. So I like him as a single play this week. If you're keen on this team, on that situation with Corey Davis.
James White in PPR is potentially very flex worthy.
100%. He's really he's cheap. He's really cheap everywhere, especially on draft stars. And if you're playing season long, then James White's a great filler. He's especially in half PPR and full PPR especially. So James White, he's back into it. Yeah, Johnny Smith. Yeah, I mean, he's got every chance to catch a touchdown every week, Johnny Smith.
Yeah, and he's still cheap.
Still really cheap, 6,800 on draft stars. That's really, really good. Other than that, there's not too much here that I would worry about in DFS. I think if you've got some of these guys, I don't want to go to that well just yet. I think from what I saw last week,
3,500 on DK though. You don't want to have a little, little shot.
Maybe.
All right,
he doesn't need much to pay it off. That's right. Arizona take on Minnesota.
Yes.
This is a game you want to play. If you have anyone, it's season long. If you've got any of these players, you're playing them. You're going to play. You're going to play your Thielen and your Jefferson. You're going to play
51 over under.
Chase Edmonds is probably one of my favorite plays here because I think he's going to be leveraged on the field if you're going to play him in DFS because you've got Thielen, Jefferson, and Hopkins, Cook and Murray. They're going to be owned everywhere.
Yeah.
But Chase Edmonds still makes money from Kyler Murray throwing the ball. Like Chase Edmonds is the one. Yes, James Conner got a bunch of touches, but that was the second half of the game when they were absolutely demolishing the Titans last week. Yep. Chase Edmonds is the guy that is going to be in there. He is really, really important to how this team operates and providing the different pass options, as well as being able to run the ball pretty well as well. So Chase Edmonds at 4,900 on DK, I think is really, really cheap. I don't know if I could touch him on draft stars though. He's 11,100. So it's a interesting one there. But this is a game I think with a 51 point over under that you kind of want pieces in, and there's going to be a lot of stacks made around it. Is there any particular stack that you want to look at, or any sneaky wide receivers that you're going to throw into this?
Well, a question for you: if you want to do an Arizona stack, obviously it's Kyler and D-Hop with probably run it back with a Thielen or a Justin Jefferson.
For sure.
If you went a double stack for Arizona, are you tempted by a bit of AJ Green?
No, I'm probably more tempted by Rondale Moore, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think what we saw is that they are manufacturing touches for Rondale Moore. They want to get him in on certain packages, and I could imagine they do that in the red zone, which is what kind of excites me. AJ Green, he was there, he played a role, but I don't think he's going to be a guy that's going to. I don't know if I could trust him getting touches as much as I can trust Rondale Moore getting touches.
Yeah. Fair cool. Obviously, Christian Kirk got a touchdown. Are you thinking that there's potentially a bit of a Kirk resurgence, or do you think that was just it was a bloody good catch?
It was, but I'll wait and see.
Wait and see. All right. But yeah, full stacks on this game. Obviously, you want to get different elsewhere because it's probably a very chalky stack with the high over-under.
For sure. I mean, KJ Osborne got 9 targets last week. Something to consider. Tyler Conklin's still really, really cheap as a tight end, and you could punt that position with him if you're going to stack this way, I think, as well. Right. So next up, we got Tampa Bay taking on Atlanta. Play all your Tampa receivers and stack it with Brady. Yes. Play Gronk. This is just the Falcons secondary is trash. It is just trash.
52 over under with Tampa Bay's 32.25 implied team total. Like, yeah, that's amazing. I think early in the off season, Ron, we were talking about some of these three-headed monster wide receiver rooms and how we would hope or see them shake out. I thought some interesting. Tampa Bay obviously is probably one of the high-profile three-headed monsters with Godwin, AB, and Mike Evans.
Definitely.
Godwin led that room with targets with 14 targets. Like that's huge.
Really
AB
good.
had 7. Obviously, he got the touchdowns, which made him very valuable for fantasy. Mike Evans disappointed everywhere. Still had 6 targets though, and Gronk with 8. So I think we're a lot higher on Gronk this year than we are last year. It's sort of like he's found his feet in the team now, hasn't he?
Yeah, for sure. Like they all know the roles that they need to play.
Yep.
But the reality is, like you said, this is a 4-headed monster. That's what it's turning into. So each week, there's like what Mike Evans did last week. That could be Antonio Brown next week. That could be Gronk next week. So we're looking at this, and I think we're realizing that I don't know if Tom Brady can provide 4 receivers with awesome games. So you're still going to have to figure out which one might not hit the way you want it to. That being said, looking at this, look for your stacks. Looking at this though, Mike Evans is 6,100. Like that's like his potential is 40 DK points.
Yes.
Like he has the potential to just go off, 160 yards and 2 touchdowns off of 10 receptions. Like this is like that's Mike Evans' possibility. Let's not deny that. So Mike Evans there at 6,100 potentially will be a leverage play off of this stack because people will be thinking, well, they have recency bias. So I like Mike Davis here. I don't know if I want to play Andy Falcons. Maybe I chuck.
Ridley disappointed, didn't he? And he's very expensive still, like 7,500 compared to the.
I'm avoiding all the Falcons. I'm not. I don't want to touch any of them.
Yeah, look, Gage. My goodness, like
zeros.
I really, that's where I lost a lot last week. I thought that was a nice little leverage play where a lot of people were playing Pitts as that second target. And I thought, maybe Gage has produced in the past. Only got 2 targets. Look, Pitts still had 8 targets. And I think, obviously, it's going to take time to adapt to the NFL for him still, like even though he's superhuman and already a Hall of Famer, right? But
of course.
Like it's, you still might, throw one of you could maybe go Pitts as your tight end, bring back maybe for a Tampa stack. You can get something that way. Potentially he hits this week, but it's going to be a tough game for Atlanta and Matt Ryan, isn't it?
Yeah, big time. No, I'll be avoiding. Next up, you've got the game that so many players are going to be looking. If you like redraft, you're going to play all these guys. Picking the stack out of this game is tough because you got Chargers taking on Dallas. Yeah. Both teams are potent through the air. Dallas sucks in terms of their secondary. Like they're gonna let the Chargers throw the ball. You're looking at Keenan Allen getting like he's going to be Chris Godwin, right? You're looking at this and he's probably going to get 14 receptions for 130 yards and a touchdown. Like this is like Keenan Allen's just in line for an amazing game. But then mind you, Mike Williams turned up last week.
He did
with everything. Like that was his target share, his ability to push down the ground, playing the everything that we heard about Mike Williams in the offseason, he did that last week. Yeah. So I'm looking at this and going, Mike Williams is a very nice play at 6,100. And the question then is, do I go a Mike Evans at 6,100 or a Mike Williams at 6,100? Yes. Both have phenomenal matchups. So they're probably going to interchange in some of my lineups. Just which one do I go? Well, whichever one I'm feeling like will be the biggest point total. And at the moment, Vegas has got this Chargers Dallas game at 55 points over under. Like that's huge. Yep. So looking, and then don't forget Austin Eckler. People are going to be off of him a little bit more because of 0 targets. Looking at that now, he's not going to have 0 targets this game, guys. Come on, he's going to get back into the passing game.
I mean, this matchup just has 2 disappointing week 1 running backs. Zeke did nothing. And people are people have been
6,200 is priced on DraftKings.
Yeah, people have been
He's so
calling
cheap.
the end of Zeke for well over a year now. Last year he had no Dak. This year he still had I think 84% of snap count. So like he is on the field. He's their RB1. Okay, it's going to happen, guys. It's just 1 week. Just relax. He's going to come good. I tell you what, with a 55 over under here, I think a way to get different. I think obviously I'm going to have quite a lot of stacks out of this game. But what I might also do is have a bit of a leverage and think, well, what if this game doesn't actually become a shootout? What if it becomes a defensive slugfest? How can I get different here? And potentially I might have one of the defenses. Maybe I'll have, Zeke and Eckler sort of grinding it out. So these are the sorts of things I think for the GPPs we can sort of have a look at. All right, how do I get different and get some leverage on the field?
If I'm going to play that, I'm probably playing the Chargers D because I don't know if I think the Dallas D will have any shot at doing that. But look,
Chargers D, you should still get a couple sacks, maybe an interception from Dak. But yeah, potentially this, games like this hit the unders a lot. So
yeah, that's true. That's very, very true. If you're looking to punt at tight end, Jared Cook at Draft Stars is only 6,060. And Dalton Schultz is 5,700. Like, both of those guys have opportunities to hit the end zone as well. Blake Jarwin is even cheaper again.
But it seems like Schultz has edged him out. I think it's still quite a shared role, but
Jared Cook is my favorite tight end out of all those guys. Anyway, you're going to stack this game. You're going to do it.
Yeah.
Next up, Seattle versus Tennessee. You're going to stack this game as well because Tennessee's secondary also is rubbish. And who doesn't want to watch Russell Wilson ball out with Metcalf and Lockett just receiving lots of touchdowns?
This is my biggest misstep last week of not having enough Seattle, Russell Wilson, Lockett, and DK stacks. Like, it was just, I missed that. Like, I just didn't have a single one. I don't know why. I just missed it. And so it's not going to happen this week, Rowan. I'm going to have a fair bit. Like, I've got I looked at, I've got, I think, about 70% of my redraft leagues have Lockett in it. Like, I've been hot on Lockett, and week one didn't disappoint at all. So he is hoping for another big one.
For sure. I think you run this back with AJ Brown and Julio Jones has a chance to step back up.
What do you make about Vrabel having a go at Julio? Did you see that in the presser?
No, I didn't actually. I didn't get a good look at it.
Called him out for doing something bad. It's like, do you want to do that to your vet and lose him early in the season? But anyway.
Well, they didn't really need him. Well, no, sorry. They needed him a lot. It makes sense to call him out because just man up, do it. So I have no problem with that.
All right.
Chester Rogers, he got passes.
Yeah,
so,
anyway. Did that. Disley just as well.
Yeah, I know.
And
anyway, so I think this is a top-heavy, stackable game.
Derrick Henry, what happened last week?
That's a great question. Arizona really did a number on him, which was very surprising. I think he's going to want to bounce back, but hey, maybe Derrick Henry is just tired from rushing for 2,000 yards last year.
Yeah,
and maybe
it was. Yeah, go on.
I don't know. Maybe he's coming to the end.
62% snaps for a Derrick Henry in week one. That's a bit unusual.
It was very unusual. Be mindful.
Jeremy Mcnichols is the backup, though. Keep that. Potentially have him if Henry goes down. It looks like he's being used a little bit anyway.
Yeah.
Shall we move on? Obviously.
Yeah, that brings us to the end of the main slate. So there we go. So that's all the Sunday afternoon games. We've got big game afterwards with Baltimore taking on Kansas City. That's just going to be fun to watch.
That's going to be great.
So let's get
I hope
for that.
Anyway.
That's going to be an interesting game. We're thinking about showdown. I will be avoiding the Baltimore backfield because Latavius Murray and Tyson Williams have not sorted that out yet. I actually think Latavius Murray will come and be on the field more than Tyson Williams eventually. Tyson Williams was bad in pass protection at the end of the game when he needed to be good. Let's just be honest about that.
Yep.
Anyway, you're going to play all those guys. Sammy Watkins is worth a play. He got targeted a decent amount and provided some big yardage plays. So watch Sammy Watkins.
revenge game.
Yeah, that's right. That'll be fun to watch. So I'm keen on that. So you're going to play these guys for sure.
Yeah.
Monday Night Football. We've got the worst team from the week, Green Bay, taking on Detroit, the worst team for the season.
And Green Bay's 10.5-point favourites after getting smacked by New Orleans.
Look, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Aaron Rodgers comes out and puts up 35-plus points.
Oh,
that wouldn't surprise me.
He'd want to.
Oh, far out. He better want to. Anyway, let's watch that game with some...
1.36 he scored for me, Rowan.
He was quarterback 35.
Tell you what.
On the week.
To me, I'm just like, beautiful. I mean, he was even a cash game quarterback, even though without the floor of running. It's just like he's just going to... Anyway, I'm disappointed with him.
Swift,
obviously,
Hawkinson, great. Jamal Williams.
Swift looks all right. I was not going to play Swift at all in week 1, and I didn't, but it looks like he's coming good.
Yeah. No, he's looking good. I think Jamal Williams and Swift might pair up, though.
Yeah.
They both played really, really well. Like, there's no reason to take either of them off the field last week in that comeback against San Francisco.
Yeah.
Hawkinson's the guy that we thought he was going to be.
Yep.
Target hog, number 1 in the offense.
Is he going to jump into that top 3 tight ends?
Potentially. Well, let's see what Kittle does, because I think at the moment the top 2's clear. Let's leave it at that. Davante Adams, he relies on Aaron Rodgers. If Aaron Rodgers does poor, Davante Adams does poor. Let's not ignore that correlation. Anyway, I don't know if there's too much else to talk from that game. There's a week. There's a whole week before that game even happens. So
yeah, that's right.
Got a bit of time there, guys. But anyway, hopefully, everyone, you've seen a little bit of a glimpse into the matchups and a bit of a first thought for what you might take into your lineups this week, whether it's season long or whether it's DFS. So hopefully we've been able to provide you with some conversation that might have enlightened you a little bit in regarding to that. So thanks for joining us. Don't forget, guys, you can catch us on Twitter, Facebook, on YouTube now. We're live streaming there as we speak. We have a Patreon at TFL Podcast. Don't forget our DraftKings link, dkng.co/TFL. Hit us up on that as well. That would be fantastic. And jump into the Millie Maker this weekend. Hey, and see if you can take home a massive prize. We'll be trying as well. Anyway, it's been fun. We'll catch you guys next week for week 3.
Bye-bye. Bye.